In this video, we're going to talk about what you need to apply to graduate programs that focus on research with a specific emphasis on PhD programs. In another video, we discuss applying to professional programs and what that process entails. Here, however, we will talk about what is required to apply and the suggested timeline, and what sets graduate school applications for research programs apart. For research programs, here is the general list of application materials you could be asked to submit. This is the same for both master's and PhD programs. There is always an application and an application fee, a statement of purpose, and you typically need 3 letters of recommendation, although some master's programs may only ask for 2. Note that these letters of recommendation should come from faculty who know you and your skills well. And of course, you'll need to submit your official transcript proving the prior degree or degrees you've received. Now let's move on to the items that may or may not be required. Graduate programs that focus on developing research skills have historically required the GRE exam. It's like an SAT or ACT exam, but for graduate school. However, many programs are now moving away from requiring it, so it's best to check what is required for the programs you're thinking of applying to. Some programs may also want a writing sample, and they may also want a CV, which is a specific type of resume as part of the application. In the other videos, I discuss what should go into a statement of purpose, how to build faculty relationships, and ask for letters of recommendation, how to decide to take and prepare for the GRE, what your writing sample should entail, and what you can include on your CV. Graduate school application deadlines will vary by program, so it is best to look up the deadline and plan a minimum of 6 to 8 months out. It takes a lot of work to apply to graduate school and to get the required components of an application. Here, we have an example of a 6-month timeline with the application deadline toward the beginning of January. But some programs have November or December deadlines, and others may have multiple deadlines throughout the year. However, most research programs have one deadline per year so that cohorts of new students start together each fall semester. So for this timeline, in June through October, you are identifying potential faculty you'd like to work with at programs you are considering applying to and sending them introduction emails. You are also reaching out to 3 faculty recommenders and letting them know you are applying for graduate school and asking if they will provide you with a letter of recommendation. And you may be preparing for the GREs if required by the programs you're applying to. By October, you should ask your faculty recommenders to review your statement of purpose, as well as sending them your application materials and formally requesting they write you a letter of recommendation. Note that sending them all your application materials helps them tailor their letter of support. You want to give faculty a minimum of 2 weeks notice before the application due date, but 4 weeks would be preferable. You would submit the final application materials by the stated deadline and then keep your recommenders informed of any decisions that have come through. Note that most acceptances go out 2 to 4 months after the application deadline, and April 15th is typically the decision deadline for students to let the program know whether they intend to enroll in the program or not. When you apply to graduate school, there are a limited number of spots that programs have to accept students. This goes for both master's and PhD programs. So, you must take the time to work on your application so that you are a competitive applicant. This not only allows you to have a better chance of acceptance, but if the program you're applying to offers funding for graduate studies, a competitive application will give you a better chance at being awarded those funds. See the video in this series on paying for graduate school for more information on funding. In order to be competitive, you need the undergraduate grades or GPA, GRE scores if required by the program, and faculty support in the form of letters of recommendation. Typically, you're going to need 3 faculty members to write you a letter of recommendation. They need to know you as well as your work fairly well and be able to speak to your capabilities to conduct research. It can't just be a person you took a 200-person level class with who you never met outside of class. First of all, they probably won't agree to write you a letter, and it probably wouldn't be that good anyways. You need to have built rapport with these faculty members so they can write you a strong letter. So be sure to review the video on connecting with faculty about how to develop these relationships and ask for the letters. You also need to have a compelling personal statement that highlights your academic background or training, prior research experience, and a novel research topic you are proposing to study. Note that your personal statement is one of the most important factors to your application, as well as your letters of recommendation. These two components let the program and the faculty reviewing the applications assess your capability of being a successful graduate student, as well as overall fit with their program. So, having a competitive application doesn't necessarily mean that you will get into a chosen program. When applying to research programs, whether a master's or a PhD, you should be applying to programs that will give you the training and education you want for your particular career goals. That is, you should not apply for research programs based on location, but rather based on the faculty who will train you. This is because graduate programs focused on research take pride in training and mentoring students. And so at least one faculty member has to say that they will work with you for you to be admitted into the program, as all PhD students have advisors. You need to be a good fit for the department and the program as a whole, but you need to really focus on whether there are faculty in the program that would be willing to work with you that are also accepting students that admission cycle. That is, a professor could already have a large number of students they are advising, or they could be on research leave and not able to accept students that cycle. So, while it is vital to have at least one faculty member who is interested in your research, if there are other faculty members in the department who do related research, work with a similar thematic approach, or work in the same geographic area, your fit with that department increases. Remember, you not only need a faculty advisor, but you also need other committee members. Let's finish this video off with some key tips about applying to research programs. First, you should identify at least a few. More appropriate would be about 5 to 10 faculty members at the different institutions you could apply to, whose research interests and expertise closely align with yours. You will need to look at their academic work and assess whether you think that you would be a good fit for them. Second, make sure you are willing to apply to and potentially move to the location of programs where those scholars are. That is, if there's no way you'd ever live where it snows, then applying to those locations probably isn't the best idea, especially if you're going to be miserable living there. But also know that some places we think sound quite awful are quite lovely, so the point is to focus on the faculty and the training you'll receive and not the location. Third, be willing to apply to a different number of universities, both public and private, so that you have a better chance of receiving at least one funded offer. Here, I should like to note that applying to the same institution for your PhD that you received your bachelor's is not usually advised and is not the norm to be accepted to the same institution. This is because you become more competitive on the job market when you have training from different institutions and advisors. Plus, you are better able to build your professional network, which will help your career. With this being said, say you're working with someone at your undergraduate institution who has shown interest in working with you as a graduate student, or who has the specific expertise you want to develop. Then it is worth having a conversation with that professor to see if you should apply to the program.